Hello, welcome everyone to everyone joining us today. My name is Madeleine Lever. I'm a product marketing specialist here at ArtLogic. I'm sure the majority of you here already know a bit about ArtLogic, but just in case anyone doesn't or anyone is interested in a quick recap, ArtLogic is the market leader in art technology and has been around since 1994. Since then, they've built a community of over 5,000 art businesses, empowering over 12,000 users worldwide. The ArtLogic platform provides everything needed to run an art business, from inventory management to sales, CRM, marketing, and integrated websites, all designed and built specifically for artists, galleries, and collectors. Since ArtLogic's merger with Exhibit E, Gallery Manager, and of course ArtBase back in 2022, our team has continued to integrate and combine the decades of knowledge, experience, and innovation of all three companies to provide even greater tools and services for all of our clients. Our collective mission remains true: to shape how the art world does business online and support art businesses to continue to grow in an increasingly online art market. In today's session, I'm delighted to be handing over to my colleague, Lucas Schaefer, a senior database specialist who specializes in supporting our clients using ArtBase. Lucas has worked as part of the team on the ArtBase side since our teams joined forces under the ArtLogic brand and continues to provide his expert support to those using the platform. Today, he's going to be taking us through some key topics, including an update on what aspects of the ArtBase product continues to be supported today, some insights on the benefits of a cloud-based integrated approach to gallery management, an exploration of how key features in ArtLogic could help you to streamline your workflows, including more on integrated websites and the ArtLogic app, as well as some expert insights on the migration process from ArtBase to ArtLogic, what's involved, how long it takes, and the support available through that journey. We should have some time at the end to answer any questions you have, so please do drop those in the Q&A box at the bottom. We'll aim to get to as many as we can. And so with that, I'm going to be handing over to you. Lucas, take it away.
Thanks, Maddie. And thanks to everyone here for taking the time to join us this morning. It's great to be here with you. As Maddie mentioned in her introduction, I'm Lucas. I'm a senior database specialist, and I'm here to share some details about migrating from ArtBase to ArtLogic, why migration might be beneficial, and to offer some suggestions for preparation down the road. Okay, let's get started. The first thing I want to do is begin with a quick and hopefully reassuring ArtBase update. So you may have heard this before, but it is well worth repeating. We are continuing to support ArtBase and do not have current plans or dates set to end that support. Some of the products we are supporting are major ArtBase releases, like later versions of ArtBase 10, all versions of ArtBase 11 and 12. And we also continue to support ArtBase mobile products like ArtBase Go Live and Salesbook. We know there is some anxiety and maybe a few rumors floating around here, but we want you to be comfortable continuing to use your database if that's what's best for you. So when we say support, what do we mean by that? Essentially technical support, resolving issues on a day-to-day basis, but it also involves some behind-the-scenes support, including testing ArtBase in new versions of FileMaker Pro, FileMaker Server, and FileMaker Go to make sure everything is working appropriately. We are also continuing to invest in ArtBase cloud hosting. So that's both hardware and software, and this keeps ArtBase performing consistently for cloud clients on a daily basis. We are no longer, so what we are no longer doing is actively developing ArtBase. So no new versions, no new features. Development has been moved to ArtLogic, where ArtBase developers are working to bring some of the most requested ArtBase features to the platform, as well as helping build out some truly impressive migration tools, which will bring us to the core of our program. So moving from ArtBase to ArtLogic. So in our opinion, many, if not the majority of current ArtBase clients could benefit by migrating to ArtLogic, but that doesn't mean the move is right for everyone. So it might not be the right time for you or for your organization. We want you to make an informed and empowered choice about why you want to migrate and what time frame is best for you. So why should you, or why would you want to migrate to ArtLogic? Well, I want to start by discussing four high-level reasons you might choose to make the move. So we're going to get into each of these items more in depth as we go, but just to name them out loud, ArtLogic is a contemporary web-based platform with an extensive integrated product suite, a relatively newly developed native iOS app, and a large, attentive, highly skilled support team. So first up is the flexibility of a contemporary web-based platform, which means FileMaker Pro is not involved. I've honestly come to love FileMaker Pro working for ArtBase, but I understand that checking the compatibility with your operating system as well as the server that's hosting the files can be cumbersome and sometimes gets problematic. Using FileMaker sometimes doesn't feel very natural in 2024. ArtLogic operates like many other contemporary web applications. You get a URL for your management system. And as long as you have an internet connection and a modern web browser, you can log in and access your database. So effectively, this means that the ArtLogic gallery management system is device agnostic. You can access the application via the browser on your smartphone or your tablet. So if you need to, let's say, look up an artwork or grab contact information while you're out of the office, the database is right there, just like all of the other apps on your device. You don't need to install a separate application or request a launcher from a support professional like me. Uh, it's all right there in the browser you're already familiar with. It's a huge advantage and typically is faster than ArtBase cloud hosting. Save time with an integrated system. So when I worked as a gallery assistant, we used ArtBase 10, and I remember on more than one occasion bringing up ArtLogic as an option to save time and modernize in the gallery. When I was hired, I did not realize the amount of data entry my job would require. So that would be adding inventory records to ArtBase, copying those same record details by hand into our custom shopping cart website. So that is, I'm typing it out. I'm not actually writing those by hand, of course. And then copying those details a third and sometimes fourth time into Artsy or other online marketplaces. So, not to mention exporting and importing contact records in and out of MailChimp. So most of my time was spent managing the data manually, and ArtLogic brings all of that together. It allows you to leverage the records you've already created in your management system to build beautiful e-commerce websites, send robust email marketing campaigns, and create private views for your clients. The newly designed app allows you to share pre-built collections from your database, and it's built for client-facing interaction. So there's again no need for kind of an awkward installation of FileMaker Go, syncing to those files. And the ArtLogic app serves to also replace any third-party products, maybe like Artbinder, that you're using in the field as you're working with clients. And the sort of the final tenet here is our amazing support team. So support is there to help you bridge the gap and make a smooth transition period when you first begin using ArtLogic full-time. This is when you come over and your migration project is finished. So ArtBase support is a larger team. It's effectively 10 times larger than ArtBase support. And as I understand it, we are recently I learned that we have an industry leading customer satisfaction percentage, or at least we would be among some of the top performers in that field. Um, ArtLogic support has much better availability. Effectively, there's 12 hours of coverage during the day between the London and the New York teams, as well as weekend coverage for select art fairs, which is amazing, and a support website. It's a very robust and large support website that I am jealous of, but it's essentially a collection of help notes, so tutorial videos, and it's accessible right from the database. So you have it in your main menu. And then finally, and it's optional, but account management. And so account management is something that I love and I know that has helped a number of art-based clients sort of bridge that gap in the transition period and kind of iron out the differences between those two systems. So I know account management essentially is a dedicated ArtLogic consultant, and their goal is to know your history, know the history of the organization, know what sort of know the pain points that you have, not only in the system, but as a company, and then know your ongoing projects. And they're there to help you optimize those workflows. And I know for art-based clients, that has really come in handy, especially for clients that have larger systems or had any sort of custom labels made, things along those lines. It's been useful to have one dedicated individual that's there working with you that has historic knowledge and knows where to pick up where you left off. Um, so yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into the process of what it takes to migrate. And I want to begin just with a little bit of like background. So our onboarding team has about 20 years of experience migrating art-based systems to ArtLogic. But if we track back just to 2022 when the merger happened, the team has completed over 170 migrations from ArtBase to ArtLogic. And as I understand it, 78 this year alone. That is an incredible accomplishment and is indicative of a knowledgeable group continuously working on improvements. And they are some of the best colleagues I have ever had the privilege to work alongside. Our onboarding team is an incredible asset. They are very good at what they do. You'll be in good hands if you choose to make the change. Art-based developers work alongside the onboarding team and have helped to develop a couple of custom tool sets to streamline that migration process. So the custom tools have served to cut down on migration times considerably. That's about 33% since they were first introduced. And in real time, that is saving literal weeks off of the projects. I recently had the chance to project manage a migration of an art base gallery uh, that was fairly large. Their art base was customized. It contained about 18,000 inventory records, 55,000 correspondence records, and it had historic data that had gone through a number of like art base to art base migrations dating back almost 40 years. So in older iterations of our onboarding process or from other companies, this particular migration would have needed a fully custom script and could have been easily taken 3 to 6 months to complete. And we were able to accomplish that task, including a second data import, which was requested by the client in only 7 weeks. That is amazing. So I'm using this kind of extreme example, and an 8 week completion time really isn't typical for most art-based clients that are coming over. The vast majority of art-based migration projects are really finished in about 4 weeks. But I do think it speaks to the fact that the onboarding team is just very good at their job and they are fast at what they do. All right. So into the migration timeline, some of the questions I receive from folks on support are, what is the migration process like, and why does it take longer than art-based migrations, art-based to art-based migrations that you're more familiar with? So the metaphor that I like to use is it's around the home and it involves moving. So art-based to art-based migrations, these would be moving from ArtBase 10 to ArtBase 11 or ArtBase 11 to ArtBase 12. Only took a few days to a week, typically, because the database structure was so similar. Both of the versions were using a FileMaker. They had a similar framework. Both the tool was built by the database and the tools were built by the developer, and they knew where all of the data was supposed to go in the end. It's very familiar from start to finish. So um, I feel like it's more like moving furniture or rearranging or redecorating a room in your home The fundamental space is the same. Many of the pieces are the same, but you may add a few new items. You may add a new coat of paint, but nothing catastrophic is taking place. ArtBase to ArtLogic migrations are much more involved and complex because they're working with a literal platform shift on the back end. So nearly everything about how the data is stored, called, displayed, served to you in the user interface is different. And this is much more like moving from house to house. So everything has to get packed up, needs to be well labeled, loaded on a truck, and delivered to the new home. It's got to make it safely. It's got to make it there quickly. It's got to make it there in one piece. Um, so, stretching maybe the metaphor a little too long, how do we get from here to there? What route do we take? Uh, ArtLogic onboarding offers a couple of different migration services, and we call these paths. ArtBase clients typically fall into what we call or term a path B or a path C migration. The path you take is really determined by the assessment that the sales account executive you're working with will make before you sign up for the migration, so you'll know ahead of time. But regardless of the path, that you will be assigned a dedicated project manager to guide you through the project, providing hands-on support and guidance, uh, including how you send your ArtBase files to us, whether that's an on-premise or local database, or and how you check the data after it has been freshly imported into your new test ArtLogic system. So the majority of ArtBase clients will qualify for a Path B, and so that's what I'm going to primarily focus on at the moment. So a Path B migration is tool assisted, and it involves only one import of your data. The entire process typically takes about 4 weeks, sometimes less. So the first 2 weeks are what I'm going to call our time. That's where your participation is fairly hands off. We might need some contact. There'll be some information and, of course, some introductions that are done via email. But once we receive your data or download your data, if you're an ArtBase cloud hosted client, we perform validation checks on a number of records. We, validate your ArtBase gallery ID. We decrypt the database if it was downloaded from the cloud hosting servers. And then we use our custom export tool to pull the data out of ArtBase. That's going to get organized into a series of tables and folders with document files and images. This essentially prepares the data to be imported. It's in a structure that is understood by the scripts that we use. And then we upload that prepared data to our second custom tool. That creates a test environment for your database where we can begin the import process. I think something that is worth noting about our import scripts that I think is really impressive is that ArtBase clients will receive their current and historic invoice data natively in ArtLogic. So this is something ArtBase developers really worked hard to achieve. It's incredibly difficult due to the differences in how ArtBase and ArtLogic approach sales, prices, discounts, invoicing. Other clients in the same system generally only receive PDF copies of their historic invoices for reference, whereas ArtBase clients have fully populated accounts records in ArtLogic. These are appropriately linked with their data. It's the full history of your sales right there in the new system, searchable and connected to things like contacts and artworks. Um, both the import and both the export and import tools are incredibly useful, but it takes a little time to run. So you can imagine that if it's generating all of this data and it's moving it from one place to the other, it can take quite a while. So each of those can run for more than 24 hours sometimes in my experience. So and it's sometimes why we need a few business days to make sure everything is getting done and all of those checks worked out. When we're finished, your project manager will perform a series of quality assurance checks following guidance that are prepared by ArtBase staff like myself to ensure that the import has proceeded as expected and the data end up where we thought it should. And after that verification, your project manager will deliver your test database to you in an introductory video call and demonstration. All right, so second series, so second 2 weeks, that's what I'm gonna call it, it's your time. So for the next 2 weeks, we would need your participation, and that's for the final data verification stages. We call these feedback, so that's the first week, and then resolution, that's the second week. Feedback period is 5 business days, and it's your opportunity to review the import and use the ArtLogic gallery management system in a test environment. Really think of it as a sandbox. It's your data, but it's not live. You can't hurt it. If you have any questions, you have a project manager there to ask it. But I think it's a great idea to make test records, and so you get a sense of what the system is like and how your workflows, what those workflows are going to be in ArtLogic. The feedback period is also a chance to get familiar with the structure of ArtLogic. So you want to learn where the data is living. So where's the information, how it's linked. Spoiler alert, it's different. There's a lot of data stored in artwork records in ArtLogic. But again, you have a project manager and they're there to assist you and provide guidance, answer all those questions along the way, or at least find someone who can answer them for you. When the feedback period is finished, we enter into resolution. That phase is when developers get involved and they'll begin to perform updates to the system to meet your requested changes. So during this time, it's a little less hands-on, but we still need your availability to answer questions, give the sign-off for the changes, and then, of course, the final sign-off before moving your management system to a live production server, and you're you're finished. The project moves quickly to avoid too much downtime between using your old ArtBase database. Remember, this is you get one data import and the new ArtLogic platform. So we want to keep it short so that there isn't a gap there and you don't have to recreate too much data. And then because of that swift move, dedicated focus during the consultation stages is essential from you. All right, I want to briefly touch on Path C. These are a little bit more custom, and that's because Path C, it's a longer migration process. It's for art bases that are either larger or have a lot of customizations, or typically, or if there's just some data complexity or an overall large file size. Um, Path Path projects are typically longer, usually several weeks, and those timeframes you would get more information about during that process. Essentially, again, it's the sales account executive that is scoping that project for you that let you know which path you qualify for, and there are essentially we will deliver lots of information based on what that time frame looks like if Path C is called for. So regardless of the road, how do you know if moving is right for you? In this section, I'm going to mention a few items maybe to be cognizant of while making your decision, along with a few preparation steps I think are useful ahead of a migration. So this might be very, very simple to say, maybe even too basic, but art ArtLogic is not ArtBase Plus. It's not ArtBase Super. It's its own thing, and it's different. And maybe it's too simple to say, but in some cases, I've spoken with clients either during or after their migration regarding their expectations of ArtLogic, and it's good to bear in mind that like while there's a great deal of crossover concerning the basics, ArtBase and ArtLogic are designed differently. They have different workflows, and they have different features to correspond with those design choices. Um, ArtBase, as you well know, is utilitarian. It's user customizable, but it can seem pretty obtuse or oblique at sometimes. ArtLogic is accessible, it's integrated, but it can be opinionated about how those workflows function. So, in my opinion, and I've mentioned this to clients before, so I may have said this to you, but in the long term, I do feel like migrating to ArtLogic is the best move to make for the future of your organization's data. ArtLogic is where the development is. it's a great platform. It's where our developers are, and it's only going to get better as we move forward in the future. Um, I think that said, it may not have every feature you need yet, and and the time might not be right for you to move. I think it's worth asking those questions and asking detailed questions as you get invested or involved in a migration process, or at least a migration conversation. As I mentioned earlier, we want to ensure that you're informed and empowered regarding when and why you make the decision to migrate. So I just wanted to make a quick list of a few things that I think are worth considering. This could be much longer, but these are the high-level items, again, that come up a few times. We've got a few from ArtBase and then how you would function with those in ArtLogic. So if you're using payables and statements in ArtLogic, there's no exact analog for the payables area in ArtBase, but there are consignor due in accounts records, commissions in accounts records, and the ability to pull and create advanced reports, which are essentially custom report documents that can mirror or at least approximate most of what an art-based statement is. If you're using something like QuickBooks or AvaTax integrations, I know there is a tax jar integration in ArtLogic, and they have really robust custom export options that are easy to use and easy to save as you need them. And then if you're using or creating inventory or additions records, so if that's a part of either your business or your artistic practice, I actually think the additions in ArtLogic are beautiful. The way they handle the data is one of my favorite aspects of the database, and it's just very different from how ArtBase does it. And so it's worth taking a look at that and having a conversation about it if that is a primary part of your database. Like, how are they structured? Did you use the addition wizard in ArtBase? And how much data do you need to alter on each edition record, I think is the principal difference. The other thing is that financial reports are a little bit different. So ArtBase will track your financial data typically by an invoice, whereas ArtLogic does it by item. So just good things to know, good things to explore or be curious about when you're considering a migration. Some additional suggestions that I have, and this is if you're considering migration or you've made the purchase and you're trying to get ready or prepare. I know it's a big ask to take extra time. I know that a migration in itself is time consuming, but it's great to review what art-based features and workflows are essential to you and your team when you're using the database. I would make a list and ask your account executive detailed questions about those workflows. It's likely that ArtLogic has a corresponding feature or that we have already crafted a workaround, or we have something in place or something coming down the line. But those things are great to know, just so again, that you're not surprised in the middle of your migration. We offer a demo of the ArtLogic gallery management system. I know it's on all of our websites. You've probably seen it, but in case you haven't, the account executive, sales executive that you're working with can get you a copy of that demo. I would really take advantage of that and make test records and really see what that system looks like and how it might be different. What's missing from the contacts area, what is different about that contacts area, how much more information is in the artwork record in ArtLogic versus ArtBase. If you're moving forward with a migration project, I would create lists of the records you want to review and then check those. Essentially, those are the records you would check during the feedback stage that will save you so much time. If you can either create a list or create save a group or a found set or something along those lines, where you have a select number of records that you're checking in each area. I think that's really, really helpful. I know some clients did that for some of my projects ahead of time, and I thought it was just amazing. So they essentially you're choosing records that have maybe complex or unique data and records that you're familiar with. I think that's great. And it's good again to have them in most of the major areas. So when you're doing those checks, you have something to refer to and you're not just trying to check every record in the database. That is impossible. We wouldn't want you to do that anyway. It's best to have those records set aside and make specific checks for specific data. So this is just a short list of some of the actions that I've seen clients take that have really benefited them during their migration projects. I would say stay in touch with your account executive and feel free to either ask them or me on support questions as things come up. Will help. If we can, we'll loop everybody in to make sure everybody knows what's going on. Anyway, that is it for me. Probably long enough. I'm going to hand it back over to you, Maddie. Thanks, everybody, for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Lucas, for that insightful session. I think that probably answered a lot of our listeners' initial questions and gave some really interesting insights into the ArtLogic platform as well. So thank you so much for that, for your time. Let me see if we have any questions in the Q&A. Don't think we do right now. There is one that's popped up in the chat instead, so I will just read that out. Let's have a look. Okay, the question is there any way to try ArtLogic out before I sign up for anything? I want to know if it's right for me. So I think you answered that a little bit, Lucas, actually, in yours. And thank you for that question, whoever asked that. But yes, of course, there is a couple of different ways you can do this. I would recommend starting with our interactive demo that Lucas kindly mentioned. That's on our main website. So if you just go onto our main website, on the ArtLogic website, and click Try Demo, you can go through and explore an overview of ArtLogic, both the gallery management and also our website CMS. Can have a look at the back end of that and see kind of how it works and click through some important bits. It gives you a taste of kind of the different areas as well that might be of interest to you, whether that's marketing or sales or all the kind of key bits there. After that, I would suggest probably booking a consultation demo with one of our sales team. They'll be able to take you through the product, any areas that are particularly of interest to you as well, maybe questions that have come up that you couldn't answer through the interactive demo as well. So you can then go through and have more of an in-depth look there. Okay, well, with no questions in our Q&A, I'm sure that there was a lot to take in there. So if you do have any questions after that, please do get in touch. Anything we've discussed today, get in touch with the team. We'd obviously love to hear from you. You can either reach out to Lucas and the team for client support questions at tech@artbase.com. Or if you're interested in exploring more about what ArtLogic offers and how it might benefit your business specifically, I'd recommend booking that introductory demo with one of our lovely sales consultants. Again, you can do that directly on the ArtLogic website. Again, there was a lot to take in, so luckily the session has been recorded, so you can always watch it back for reference and catch up on those key bits that Lucas has kindly spoken about today. We will send you a copy of that recording by email in a few days' time, so do look out for that. And that brings us to the end. Thank you so much for joining, everyone, and have a lovely rest of your day. Goodbye.